You're listening to the Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jet Fan podcast with your hosts Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Jets fan Novak. Listen to us free on Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Let's move to Justin Fields. What's your opinion of the narrative? And I know I'm throwing a media narrative in your direction here, Kurt. The narrative of the return that the Bears got for Justin Fields and the market that they found for Justin Fields is proof that the NFL writ large does not believe Justin Fields is a starting quarterback in the NFL. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, I understand it, and I understand why people, look at it that way because, when you watch him in Chicago and you watch the entirety of how he's played, definitely a playmaker. We've seen him rush for over 1,000 yards. We've seen him do so many different special things athletically. But when you're talking about playing the quarterback position, he struggled to show that he has the consistency to see the field and make those throws over and over again. And that, to me, coupled with the fact that, you're going to be going into year 4 and you're probably going to have to, pick up the option and maybe pay him if you want to keep him around. I think there's a lot of elements there that say we don't know yet. I don't know if it's necessarily the NFL saying he's not or he can't be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. I think it's simply saying we don't know yet. And a lot of that could be because of all the issues they had in Chicago. Some of that could be, kind of what you alluded to earlier is that he wasn't quite ready to do this and step into a starting role when he did. He was forced into it. And now when you're forced into it, you're just trying to survive. You're trying to do whatever you can to be successful without being able to grow into maybe the player you can be or grow into the type of player that people can look at and go, that's a franchise quarterback. He can do the things we need from our franchise quarterback. And so I believe that's what the NFL is saying is we don't know. And I believe that's what Chicago is saying is that having the number 1 pick, to let Justin Fields go, you really just had to ask the question, in my opinion, do you know he's a franchise quarterback or are you unsure? Doesn't mean you don't like him. Doesn't mean you haven't seen good things. But that was the question you had to ask. If the answer was we're not sure, then to me you have to move on because you can't go down this path again for another year, have to pay him big bucks when you are not sure. You start over and you go, hey, we're not sure about these college guys either, but we think there's some good prospects out there.
So that is Rich Eisen talking with Kurt Warner about Justin Fields. Justin Fields was sent to the Steelers in a 7th-round pick swap. And the divide there between the narrative of the media calling Fields one of the best quarterbacks, an MVP candidate early in the year, to what the NFL actually thinks of him and the value that he returned is pretty stark, that divide. So, I think we're going to dig into that. But, guys, we've been talking about Justin Fields, for how many years in this podcast? And finally, the NFL agrees with us. The media still doesn't. The media still wants this guy to be an MVP, I think.
They have a difficult time admitting when they're wrong, even when the evidence is slapping them in the face. These guys are embarrassed that, you don't think that clown that said, Justin Fields was an MVP candidate coming up this year feels a little embarrassed. I mean, I know they have no shame, but I mean, not even 9 calendar months after he made that statement, the guy was really close to being out of a job, saved by the Steelers. So,
I was saying on our thread, guys, like this is really like a major step towards Hisman's prediction that this guy will be out of the league in 3 years. Yep. When he said that like 2 years ago or whenever it was, Mike, right?
I jumped too early. I think I've passed the time I said, but it's not going to be by much.
I just love the fact that that people are finally catching on. I mean, like I said, I feel like we started it here. Like we were riding this guy, we were burying this guy, from day one. It's just awesome what's happening now.
I think Mike said it the best. The guy is a coach killer. No team wanted to take this guy on because exactly what happens. He's going to go. The only place he could go was to an organization that had a coach that could handle the pressure of this guy being the backup. No one wanted him. 32 GMs basically said, we want nothing to do with this guy. And finally, it has come to fruition that, no one wants this guy, and I'm just glad that it happened. And Mike, you're going to be right, dude. I mean, it was one of the great predictions of all time. It is coming. I give him another year, maybe 2 tops.
Yeah, and but to hear the Bears tell it, Novak, they had many offers for Fields. They just wanted to do right by Justin. I mean, I don't know if they actually said the words, but they insinuated that they turned down better offers because it wasn't a good fit for Justin.
Come on.
I see. That's like trying to find the right boyfriend for a girl that you're breaking up with. It's like, well, I'm going to wait till the right guy who comes along before I break up with you. I want to do right by you.
I want to do right by you.
Yeah. Well, I thought Kurt Warner put it well in that interview where he said Justin Fields has made plays majority of the time with his legs. And the problem is, as a quarterback in the NFL, you have to make plays consistently with your arm, and he just has not done that. And I think that's one of the things we've been saying. He's a glorified running back, and I don't want to simplify it that much, but the guy has been so inconsistent passing the ball that's what the position requires in the quarterback position.
I tell you, the only time I got slightly nervous was when there was some murmurings or rumors that the Giants, might be a fit for the guy. I'm like, absolutely not. I'll disappear until he's cut, traded, dropped, dead, whatever. I wouldn't be able to watch football for the next. You guys, you'd have to come find me in I don't know, in 5 years. I'd be out in the bush somewhere, just hiding.
It's like an episode of Crocodile Dundee. I'll be out in the bush.
I'll be out in the bush somewhere. Whatever goes on there, I don't know.
This whole narrative that he wants to learn now from Russell Wilson, give me a break. You think this guy is saying, I'm excited to go learn from Russell Wilson? Bullshit. This whole spin that they are now throwing out there, I don't buy it for 1 second. No one wanted the guy, and now he's going to learn from Russell Wilson. Come on. And Russell Wilson, you know what's going to happen. He's going to be 2 weeks in, and Russell Wilson's going to struggle, and the whole world is going to be calling for Justin Fields. This guy is going to torpedo that organization just like he did the Bears.
You watch. He'll be part of the first Steelers team to be under 500 here.
That would be only he could kill Mike Tomlin. Only the power of Justin Fields. So, I mean, Scott, you were all over it there. I mean, the problem with Justin Fields, the guy can make a play, can't win a game. He's a quarterback who can't throw. He should be, on the Rudolph holiday special. He should be in the Island of Misfit Toys, right? I'm a quarterback who can't throw.
I like that voice you got there, Mike.
Yeah, that's my
that was good.
Yeah. Island of Misfit Toys.
Sounded like a misfit.
So we are the 3 Angry Giant fans and a Jet fan. This is your host Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jet fan Novak. Guys, season 5. This is the free agency episode where we sort of do a catch-all, sort of write ourselves before we get into the schedule, the draft, all of that. But season 5 going strong. And with it being season 5, let me give a shout out first. And this one's sort of timely based on it being March. So hello, St. John's, Florida. So St. John's is a population of 18,063. It's a suburb of Jacksonville. It's not in Duval County, though. So it's not in Duval. And it was once considered part of Jacksonville, even though it was in St. John's County. But the town council actually took an anything but Jacksonville stance. And so they went and chose the St. John's name for the town over 4 other possibilities. And those 4 other possibilities were River Cove, River Oaks, Bartram, and St. John's Cove. So they did not want to be associated with Jacksonville. So they distanced themselves and they called themselves St. John's.
So they were the first sort of free agent who said anything but Jacksonville. I don't believe they were the last.
but it's timely because St. John's is one of the bigger snubs of the NCAA tournament that's going on right now. So thought I'd pick St. John's.
It's fitting. The Big East snub.
I was hoping you would go there because they were snubbed, as we saw by Virginia losing in embarrassing fashion last night.
Yeah.
I still do not like the whole first 4 deal. I just think put people in a bracket, let them play. It screws everything else. You go to do your bracket, you got your choice between Wagner / another team. It's like just put them in.
Yeah, if I knew that was going to be Wagner, I'd pick him into the Elite 8, but I can't guarantee it's going to be Wagner.
I think the first time I watched college basketball is at the selection show, so I can hear Vital go, "Oh, the kids are so, they were so upset. They deserve to be in." Come on.
The kids.
The Big East got 3 teams in, and those seeds are 1, 2, and 3. The Mountain West got 5 teams in. The Mountain West.
The committee must know something, or CBS, because how come there was no watch party on Sunday? You know when they show the whole team there with the families, and you got little kids, and you got cheerleaders there with their pom-poms? There wasn't a Seton Hall, St. John's, or Providence little watch party going on. So, right?
They knew.
Yeah, they know. Those guys didn't get together.
The best part is when they bring that guy out as a sacrificial lamb to give the reasoning of why the teams that were snubbed, didn't make it. And they change the reasoning every year. Well, St. John's didn't have a great record against Q3 and Q4 teams, but they beat UConn. They beat Marquette.
And I don't know if are you talking about Dr. Charles McClelland, by the way? Like, I feel like, is that the best we can do? Is that the best we have? McClellan? I know the guy was up till 2:30 in the morning because he mentioned it on every goddamn interview that he was, stuck a microphone in his face. But, like, for God's sakes, that's the best we have in this country is Dr. Charles McClellan. Who the fuck is this guy? A doctor of what?
Bracketology.
Right?
Oh, that guy Lenardi with the worst hairpiece on the planet? That guy?
At least Lunardi looks like he knows something about college basketball. This McClellan clown, I mean, where do we find this guy?
That's kind of a pet peeve in itself, though, when it's like the middle of January and Joe Lenardi's already got his first 4 out.
4 out, I know.
In.
Yeah. They got like 7 games left.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Big East snub, man. I kind of feel like that's a function of the media too. Of course, I'm going to blame anything on the media, but they declared that conference dead. ESPN even had a requiem for the Big East.
They
and
did.
the Big East has won 2 national titles since then, by the way.
Yep.
And they might win this year too.
Yeah, and they're on tap for good chance at least a shot at it this year. So yeah, so we had the media declared him dead because Syracuse left, and we had a requiem, and what the hell? They're still here. It's like a zombie conference.
So outside of the other sports, I'm wearing baseball because it's opening day in Seoul, Korea, of all places for baseball. Yeah. But we got free agency on tap, and it's been a wild first couple weeks of free agency. So the Giants had some key losses. We lost Saquon Barkley, of course, to the Eagles, and we lost McKinney to the Packers. But we also lost Bredesen on the offensive line. We lost Peart today on the offensive line. We lost Ashawn Robinson, defensive lineman. We lost Tyrod Taylor to the Jets, who we could talk about in a minute. And then we also lost Jihad Ward today. So key losses there. But the Giants have been very active in the last 2 weeks, not just in free agency, but, they pulled off the trade for Brian Burns. So Carolina last year, the rumors are that they were offered 2 first-round picks for Burns, and they turned it down. Giants got Burns for a 2nd and a 5th. They signed Michael Strahan's favorite daddy, John Runyon Jr.,
right,
on the offensive line. They signed Jalen Mills, a safety. They signed Jermaine Ulian Mudar.
Got a short name.
Ulian Mudar? What?
Ulia Munar.
They signed Limu Emu, I think. Yeah.
Offensive tackle from the Raiders, where their new offensive line coach came from. They signed running back Devin Singletary, so I think we're probably going to do a running back by committee a little bit here. They signed QB Drew Lock from the Seahawks. They signed Isaiah McKenzie, former Bills wide receiver who played last year with the Colts. They signed tight end Jack Stoll from the Eagles. So the Eagles get Barkley, but we hurt the Eagles badly by taking their tight end, Jack Stoll. We also got tight end Chris, and I like this name. This is a good one. Manhurts. Chris Manhurts.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Rusty Kuntz or whatever, but
Zach Kuntz. Kuntz, Scott, you've got me doing it now.
They signed offensive lineman Aaron Stinney, offensive lineman Austin Schlottman, and then they re-signed today Darnay Holmes, the familiar face cornerback, former Giant. So lots of guys there. Probably there's a few on there that won't make the final team. Probably a couple of the tight ends and maybe offensive linemen. But guys, key losses. I mean, Barkley leaving. Both Barkley and McKinney left, but there's no way in hell the Giants are going to pay them what they ended up getting. And to me, the Barkley signing is the oddest one, because the Eagles are a team that usually gets guys on before they've hit their peak and doesn't pay they don't overpay for players. They made this mistake a few years ago with DeMarco Murray. So are they repeating it with Saquon? It'll be interesting to see. It's going to be odd seeing him in green, like Barkley.
Oh, that's going to be like, yeah. I think we would agree. All signs were pointing that Barkley was not going to re-sign with the Giants, right? They weren't going to pay him what he was, what he could get on the market. We knew that. But why? Why does it have to be Philly? Right, guys? I mean, why Philly? If you ask anybody in the NFC East, anybody outside of this, our rivals in the NFC East, I love the guy. I was ready to root for him. I was thinking, go to Houston Texans or something like that. Go to the AFC, and I will be one of those fans that likes an individual player. But like one of those guys that like I could get behind Barkley. But as soon as I heard that he was going to sign with the Eagles, I'm sorry, guys, that my knees buckled, and that's a devastating look to see him, because he's going to be running. How much you want to bet? I can't wait to do the schedule predictions and stuff, because I wonder if they might do, not that it's that marquee because the Giants are not a good team, but I'm wondering at what point, how early in the season we're going to be facing the Eagles, Giants, Eagles, maybe at MetDeath. He comes back to MetDeath, probably a primetime game or something, or I wouldn't be surprised the old nighttime primetime at Philly, like we always get fucked with. So we'll see how quickly the schedule makers, set that one up. But, other than that, I mean, Barkley just being in an Eagle uniform is tough to swallow. But I'm excited about a lot of the other moves. I am. Even did a little research on Devin Singletary. He's one of those guys that seems to be like one of those tier 2 or 3 backs. He's not elite kind of running back, but I looked at his numbers. They're very respectable. The guy plays 16 games a year, so he's durable. That's a good sign. And then, of course, Brian Burns. Love the name Burns, right? So getting Burns from the Carolina Panthers. That's a huge signing there, and I don't think we gave up a lot. Scott, you mentioned it was second and a fifth rounder, so I think a lot of value there. And then you mentioned the other one. So outside, the Giants have been pretty active, and I'm pretty pleased with sort of the offseason so far, the signings.
We shit on David Tepper an awful lot here, but if you look at the Panthers, I mean, good young talent on that team is shipped off. Christian McCaffrey's been traded. They traded DJ Moore. Now they're trading Brian Burns. If you're a player and you're going to the Panthers, you have to be thinking to yourself, what kind of organization am I getting into? Now, I know the Giants have been losing. The Jets have been losing. But put that aside. The Panthers, you don't get better by getting rid of all your good young players. I'm so happy the Giants were able to get Burns for the price that they did.
Yeah, and it's not – I mean, for the Panthers, I understand you're in a rebuild – Christian McCaffrey, do we really need him if we got a 4-year rebuild plan? But they got nothing for him. You trade Christian McCaffrey and not get at least a number 1 somehow. I mean, How does that even work? How do you trade Brian Burns for a 2 and a 5? Not even a full calendar year after you turned down 2 number 1s and a number 2 for him. To me, the Burns signing, if you're talking about additions, the Burns signing was completely out of left field and exactly what I needed after the Barkley signing as loss. We needed something like that, and that hit the spot right on. As far as Barkley goes, my only problem with him leaving, as Cardone said, is it's to the Eagles. I've said a lot on this podcast the last couple of years. We might be better off without Barkley. I've said that a few different times, and I still feel that way. Now, I don't want to play Barkley 2 times a year. That's not the kind of thing I was thinking of. But it hurt. It really sucked that he went to the Eagles. But the Burns signing, which was like only 2 days later, really kind of picked up my spirits after that. I love the offensive line additions. I'm sorry to see McKinney go, but like you said, there's no way we could pay him what he got.
I think he got 18 million.
Yeah.
And I think our ceiling was 10 million a year. 18 million a year for a cornerback.
Yeah. When something like that happens, you just got to go,
Safety.
Okay. Safety. Yeah.
Yeah.
And safeties it's not as difficult as other positions to find good safeties.
I mean, I think the Spurs might be the worst organization in the 4 professional sports. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not even joking. You think what they have done to this organization in the last 2 years, giving up multiple first-round picks for Bryce Young, who's, I think we all agree, is the next Justin Fields. And then they're giving away Brian Burns for a 2nd and a 5th, Christian McCaffrey for a 3rd, I think, maybe. There's zero talent. They just overpaid for a guard from the Dolphins. I forget his name, but they paid him like $100 million, not guaranteed, but like a horribly run organization. They are going to be the worst team in the NFL this year, guaranteed.
Oh yeah. The talent that they've shipped off and what they've gotten in return for it is, I mean, that's a fireable offense. Where they're left with after shipping. You should have stockpiles of picks.
Hey, they're on our schedule. They're on our schedule this year here.
That's a win
here in Charlotte. So I'd like to put a W to that one. We're not going to find many, where we can say, oh, that's a win right there. So that better be a win. I'll tell you that.
Well, the Charlotte FC team has lost 2 in a row, so their coach better be looking over his shoulder, getting fired by Tepper.
He better go to the bunker.
Meanwhile, across the locker room, Tyrod Taylor's just picking up his stuff and going over to the Jets. Jets got some offensive line help. They haven't been as active as the Giants. They've been more politically motivated, I think. But we can talk about that in a minute. How we might have our first signal caller in the NFL.
No.
That's a dual running VP candidate.
Look, we'll get into Aaron Rodgers later, but
yeah,
just because that fucking guy. I mean, he's in the news every single week. Pat Mahomes, I haven't heard a word from this guy, and Aaron Rodgers in the news every single week. I'm so over this Aaron Rodgers. But if we're talking about free agency with the Jets, I think Joe Douglas has done a masterful job. And look, I get it. It's the offseason. On paper, I know all of this. Then the Jets are going to have a ton of injuries and probably go 6-11 or 6-12. But they went into the offseason with 3 massive holes in the offensive line. So they got Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, and Simpson from the Ravens. So they now have a starting, in theory, offensive line. They get Mike Williams, the receiver, as a second receiver to Garrett Wilson, which I love. But the best part about all of this is that those 3 guys that they got on the offensive line, $20 million guaranteed in total. Now, with incentives, it could go up, but God forbid they all get hurt. It's only $20 million, and they have a starting right tackle, starting right guard, and a starting left tackle for $20 million guaranteed. Joe Douglas has done an incredible job. They let Bryce Huff go to the Eagles. I love Bryce Huff, but he's a little overrated. I think the Eagles overpaid for this guy. And where did the Eagles get all this money? That's what I want to know. First of all.
Yeah, between Barkley and Huff and a couple other guys. Yeah,
they've got like A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, all these guys in the defense. Someone needs to explain the cap situation to me, because the Eagles seem to have unlimited amount of money that they get these
getting
guys.
Like private endorsements from Rocky Balboa or something. I don't know.
Well, they obviously play from a different rule book than everyone else. They might play with a different salary cap than everyone else, for all we know.
I mean, I don't know if you guys look. I my head hurts trying to understand the cap situation, but the Eagles seemingly can continue to just add pieces every single year, and they're fine.
Maybe the fines from security guard Dom. Is it Dom? Is that the guy? Maybe that's going towards like cap space. I have no idea.
Dom. By the way, after Dom blew up, the Eagles season basically imploded last year. No one really brought that part up, but after Dom acted like an ass,
thank you, Dom.
There might have been the curse of Dom.
Might have been.
So Novak, you're
Yeah.
Any other pieces you think will be added in the next couple weeks, or Jets basically done? You think?
I could see them adding like maybe a second tier defensive end like Clowney. I could see them maybe adding him. But I think at this point they've done what they needed to do. They might get, I think Bakhtiari, they could add him as backup for as a tackle. I know he's injury prone.
Did Clowney sign with the Saints, or was that?
No, that was
rumored to go there.
Chase. That was Chase Young.
Oh, Chase Young. Chase Young did. You're right.
So I could see them adding Bakhtiari, maybe Clowney, but all these guys that they've added are on 1-year deals, except for Simpson, who's a starting right guard at 26 years old. So I love that signing. I think Joe Douglas, that's the thing about these GMs. He's done an incredible job. When you think he's drafted Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, AVT, and unfortunately, he's going to be held accountable for Zach Wilson and not getting a backup for Aaron Rodgers.
Is Tyrod not an acceptable backup?
Well, yes, now it is, but last year, not having a backup was his downfall. But he's done a great job this year. I'm incredibly happy with the Jets and what they've done. But again, it's the offseason. It doesn't mean anything. It's only March. I get that. I know people are probably listening going, that's the Jets. They suck. Something's gonna happen. They play in Met death. They're gonna get injured all year long, I'm sure. But look, as of right now, I'm thrilled with what they've done.
Yeah. The interesting thing to me, if you look around the NFL, the Eagles have been very active. One team that's been really silent, and the Commanders have been really active too. The Commanders have actually made some good moves. We could talk about that in a minute, but the Cowboys have been very silent.
They've done nothing.
They really haven't.
They re-signed their long snapper and Rico Dowdle, and I think they got Kendricks, the linebacker. Other than that, the Cowboys have done nothing. But
yeah, that's surprising.
It probably wouldn't be as noticeable if Jerry Jones didn't say we're all in.
Right.
All into what? Repeating last year?
Well, and you could see the top guys, the top teams in the draft now are positioning themselves for the quarterback. The Bears traded Justin Fields. The Commanders traded Sam Howell. The Patriots traded Mac Jones. All these guys are now gone. And by the way, they're all probably going to be backup somewhere.
The Bears traded Justin Fields, Scott. Let's not forget the biggest one of all.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned that one first.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
To go be a backup, I love it.
To mentor around his idol, Russell Wilson.
Never heard him mention Russell Wilson's name before.
It's a good fit for Justin.
You guys got any other thoughts around the league?
Have you guys? I don't have a whole list of it, but how about some of the potential rule changes that they're proposing?
Hold on to that. Hold on to that. I got to.
I figured we can get into some of those.
Pet peeve. Treading on my pet peeve.
No, we can go right there then, or wherever you want to go. It's
First off, I'll go off of football. We were talking about it earlier. Let's give our March Madness, our winning predictions. So I'll start with Mike first. Who's going to win the NCAA basketball tournament?
It's really chalk, but I have UConn winning it.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Cardone?
Yeah, it's going to sound lame, but UConn, Danny Hurley, they're going back. That team is so much better than even last year's team that won the title. I don't know how they're going to lose. I just don't. It's crazy. I'm much like fantasy football, which I'm retired from. People are trying to shove brackets down my throat. I don't fill out brackets anymore, guys. I don't do it. I stay away from the aggravation, the losing, the frustration. I tell you what, I enjoy watching college basketball. I love this time of year, like most of us do. And I have no problem just sitting back and watching the games. So I am not in a bracket. I'm not in a pool, and I am happy as a clam about that. I can pick UConn and not have to worry about if they get blown out, and if they're out of the tournament in the second round, who cares?
I might have to turn in my man card on this, but Steph likes watching that show Tournament of Champions on the Food Network, and it's like a bracket style cook off. And for the last couple years, she's like, "We got to do brackets on this and see who wins." By the way, I've won the last 2 years, and I'm winning right now. But the funny thing is, she gets so competitive about it. She's like, "God, I don't have a chance to win now. My person in the final's gone." I'm like, now you know how everyone feels when they do a bracket and it gets busted.
Yeah.
Novak.
You know, I could go chalk too and say UConn, but I think I like Carolina. And the reason I like Carolina is because they have a lot of seniors, guys that have been around forever. And I think when it comes down to tournament time, experience plays a major factor. And with Baycott and Davis, they didn't play well in the ACC tournament, but I just think they're going to turn it on in the tournament. I think Carolina's going to win it.
I went with probably the biggest underdog out of the four of us. I went with Kentucky this year. Kentucky has finally gotten healthy. I think they're a little underseeded, but they have a decent bracket to go through. And I will tell you the team to watch out for, and there's going to be an interesting second round matchup between the Duke Blue Devils and the JMU Dukes. Oh. And I think JMU is going to be a team to watch out for in this tournament.
Absolutely, they should be. Go Sunbelt.
Yep,
right?
31-3.
Yeah,
I mean that's.
Which, by the way, we'll say it here: two of those three losses to our App State Mountaineers this year.
Correct. Yep.
Yes.
And App State wasn't even considered for the tournament, which they should have been, but
they were getting votes up until conference tournament time, and then all of a sudden they can't even get seeded in the NIT. Where's that? Right. They were getting votes in the AP.
Yeah, they had like 7 or 8 votes to be in the top 25 up until the last week, and they don't get the tournament. Makes no sense to me. I'm sorry.
No.
Well, the NIT, I mean, again, so many teams have turned down the NIT that if App State can't get in when St. John's, Syracuse, some of the other teams pass up, that's pretty sad too. So, all right, I'll start with pet peeves since Cardone sort of teed me up. So, I did want to go into some of the rule changes. So one of the big rule changes, and there's a couple there, but the big one for me is the hip drop tackle is likely to be banned in a 15-yard penalty. So if you look over the years, we've now banned hip drop tackle, which is pretty subjective. You've banned the horse collar tackle, so you can't tackle from behind. You can't hit the guy in the helmet or in the head. That's a foul. And if you go too low, if a guy's in the pocket or in a strum, that's another penalty. So we are just one step removed from flag football in my mind, because we are eliminating every possible way a defender can tackle. And if someone comes in with a shoulder, we talked about this last year, if the shoulder looks like it hits the guy too hard, they call that like targeting and stuff like this. So it's like, I don't know where we go when a defender can't tackle someone because it might possibly cause injury. I don't know what we do now. I mean, the defender can be the best guy in the world, and yet he's got to learn these new techniques for tackling.
Have these guys sign a waiver. Sign a waiver. You come into the league, you sign a waiver that, hey, there's a potential chance you may get injured. You can't sue the NFL if you do. That's it. I mean, like you go to the Whitewater Center, you get in that fucking little raft or whatever, you go zip lining, you sign a waiver to do that, right? So go on a zip line. You got to sign like 5 documents.
Action Park.
Yeah.
Oh,
that place you did die. So
you did.
That's crap.
So,
but you signed the waiver, so you couldn't sue.
Yeah. You're right. No, to your point, though, Scott. Like we are. It's funny. I had a conversation with my brother about this just earlier today. We were talking about some of these rule changes and things. We were talking just about the same exact things. That this NFL is becoming less recognizable year in and year out. We talk about it on this pod all the time. It's the rule changes are constant. There's way too many rules. I remember like back in the day, you don't have to go back that far. Maybe even the 90s, let's say, guys, which it doesn't seem that long ago, but it is when you're 50 something years old. It's like, holy shit, that was like, like 5 years ago. No, that was 1994. Like, oh shit. So like there was a big rule change maybe every 5 years, and now we have like 7 of them every season. Who can keep up with this shit? Between the overtime rules, now they're how about the kickoff rules?
Yeah, the kickoff rule.
Scott, I don't know if you want to touch on that because I was trying to keep up with what they're proposing now for the kickoff rules, and I don't want to be incorrect here until I know for my facts.
I don't even know what the rule is. It's like everyone has to stand back behind the ball and you kick it and then they can start running.
They can't
and
move.
It's like you can't move until like someone the opposing team can't have any blockers behind like the 30 or
That's
something.
right.
It's like ridiculous.
I also heard that they're the surprise onside kick is no longer. It won't be a surprise. They have to actually tell the official now that they're I don't know what. So like you can't do a surprise onside. That's gone away.
You can't do an onside kick.
You think that would change the outcome of fucking Super Bowl 44 when the Saints pulled it against the Colts? Like,
yeah. I think the rule change actually is you can't try an onside kick now unless it's under 2 minutes in the fourth quarter and you're trailing.
What?
I think that's the rule change. I really do.
I did not hear it. That's ridiculous. What? Why are we even lining up it anymore? Just ball the 20-yard line and just start.
They're actually talking about. They're talking about doing a instead of the onside kick now, you could take your chance at a 4th and 20 and try and convert that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is great because the first time the Chiefs do that, what's going to happen? Defensive holding, automatic first.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just one play and if it's a penalty, you do it again. I saw that. That was actually a rule proposed by Philadelphia.
Why don't we just make it like? Why don't we just let's make a deal. Have 3 doors and ask the coach. Hey, coach, you want to go with what's behind door 3? We've talked about it on this pod. Like, oh, you make it a donkey though. Don't get you make it the donkey. Like, coach, you can have a first down now, or if you go by door 3, we'll give you an extra 10 yards. We'll give you I'm going to go with door 3. Oh, there's a fucking donkey. Sorry, you lose a timeout. You go back. I mean, why don't we just make it a fucking game show at this point? Let's combine everything. Let's combine Hollywood. Let's combine weekday morning game shows, all with the entertainment. Let's combine all that with the NFL, so it's so unrecognizable that. Why don't we just do that, guys?
And I'll tell you this: the bigger rule change to me is another one that favors the offense. So I don't know if this is passed or it's just proposed, but they are talking about changing the rule for grounding. So now grounding, you don't have to get outside the pocket to throw the ball away.
Yep.
That used to be a core tenet of it. Oh, is he outside the pocket? Is he outside the hashes? Now you could ground the ball inside the pocket as long as you get the ball to the line of scrimmage, which we know, by the way, is in itself subjective because balls don't get to the line of scrimmage. You never see a flag come out for that. It's like, no, that's okay. So when you've now allowed the offense one more time to bail themselves out, and yet the defender is going to get punished twice as much for doing a hip check and everything else that's illegal. It's ridiculous. Everything favors the offense, and not to open up the genie here, but everything probably revolves around fantasy football and sports gambling. We live in North Carolina. We just now have the ability to bet on sports.
I've never seen a commercial about it. Is that really real?
The last fucking 2 months, there have been nothing but
shoved it down our throat.
Commercials, BetGM commercials, DraftKings commercials, nonstop. And to me, I'm a gambler, and that's seedy. It is the underbelly of gambling, because what will happen is 3 years from now, you'll have a bunch of people that have lost their mortgages, and you'll go, whoa, we tell you to gamble responsibly. But you've run commercials nonstop for the last 24 days.
Yeah, I'll have a lot to say about that. I'm not going to blow any of it in this sort of preview podcast, but that's be a major theme of mine. I'm going to stop talking about the offensive line and switch over to that, I think, this year.
Well, I think
season 5.
We have been saying this for a year now. The offensive line in the NFL is a problem, and the NFL recognizes this, but no one talks about it. I'm telling you, Like they realize it. The defensive lines are bigger, faster, stronger, and they know we've got to change this. So now basically Zach Wilson, he came out the wrong year because he would be throwing stuff into the line on every play now if he could just, not get grounding when he's in the pocket. So look, this is going to continue. This is just step one. Before you know it, there's going to be the next rule and the next rule and the next rule favoring the offense. This is happening. This is what it's going to be, and it is because the offensive line in the NFL is just garbage.
I tell you what, why don't we just continue? Why not just make it 1st and 8? You know what I mean? Like, fuck it, don't even make it 10 yards. Like, you know what? We're gonna make 1st and 8 now. It's only gonna be 8 yards to get a first down. Like, fuck. Why not just keep going with the offense until we have, until we have no one who wants to play defense anymore on planet Earth? Because how do you
have the refs when the ball's close? They're just gonna say, "We feel the offense tried hard enough. It is good enough. It's a first down." Like,
Cardone, you're going to love this. There is a rule change out there being proposed where they get rid of the sticks.
Oh my
everything
God.
Will be, everything will be on that line now.
Yeah.
That's supposedly going to be
the line will become official because they love telling us it's not official.
So the chain gang
will become official.
The old that's it. It's finally gone.
So like in tennis when they do that, like the superimposed ball that
yeah.
That's the same thing, right? It's in or out. Like that's going to be the thing now.
Just get rid of human beings.
Yep.
Don't you love when they do it in tennis? It's always it's animated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And show any animation they want. Oh, that's what happened? We don't know. Who knows? I don't know if that happened or not.
That's depressing, Scott. It's inevitable. It's going away. We've been seeing it for. They just absolutely despise bringing the chains out. Absolutely despise it. They won't do it.
Yep. There is a good rule change in there that I saw where I think it's, and this might be laid out a little bit differently, but essentially it's if you have a successful challenge, you get the challenge back. You don't use up the challenge when you're successful.
I think I heard that.
I think they really should just go to the college system though.
Yeah.
Get rid of the challenge system altogether. Go to the college system.
Yep.
Novak, pet peeve?
I have so many. I realize that this podcast helps me get my anger out about all the things that are wrong in sports. And I have to choose from like 1,000 that I had over the last month because there are so many things that bother me. But I had to go to the one that's the top of the list that I texted you guys about. And it is that we saw the retirement of Jason Kelce from the NFL. This fraud that, like, I know it's not a popular opinion. Jason Kelce loves him. He's he's drinking beer and he's naked at the games and everything else. This bullshit press conference that he had for 40 minutes where he's saying Taylor Swift jokes in his conference, and he's talking about how my mother always used to say, don't tell Jason he can't do something because then he will. Bullshit. This guy's such a fraud. The whole Kelce thing is annoying. I don't like this whole Kelce, Jason, Travis Kelce thing. That's my pet peeve is Jason Kelce. When have we ever cared about a center retiring? The last time we cared about a center was like Barrett Robbins in the Super Bowl in 2003 when he was doing a bender in Tijuana. No one cares about centers. But all of a sudden, because there's a connection to Taylor Swift, the world cares about Jason Kelce.
And now they built him up to be the best center ever. And the man at his retirement conference couldn't even bother to have sleeves on.
No, he's going after the Pat McAfee look, I guess. McAfee's wearing sleeves though now. So someone in his inner circle got with it. But yeah, Novak, great stuff, man.
Yeah,
it's so true.
It's awesome. If Jason Kelce was just Jason Kelce and there was no Travis Kelce who happened to be dating Taylor Swift, it would be, Eagles center Jason Kelce retires. There wouldn't be a press conference.
No,
it wouldn't be. This guy 2-3 years ago, he's a good center. He's very good. He might be borderline Hall of Fame territory. Now he's definitely Hall of Fame because of this attention. But yeah, all of a sudden in the last 2 years, he's become like Scott said, the best center of all time, but he's just another guy.
It was breaking news on ESPN.
Yeah.
This press Are you kidding me? A center from the Eagles. No one has cared about a center retiring in my lifetime until this guy.
I'm trying to think of which center. Like, I don't even think Bruce Matthews was a center. I think he was a tackle.
No, he was a
guard or tackle. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
The only one I can think of is Jim Otto from the Raiders. Was he a center? He may have been. I don't know.
He may have been.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, as much
Forrest
football as we
Gregg
think
was
we
a
know,
center,
like,
but I remember him more as being a football coach than a football player.
shit, I can't even name centers on the Giants like over the last like 20 years.
I mean,
Let alone all.
Be honest. If he's not Jason Kelce, is this getting any attention at all?
No.
None, right?
No.
I mean, I'm sure there was a center from the Titans that might have retired this year. No one cares. But again, it goes back to what we've talked about forever. The NFL is now so in love with this whole situation and the Kelce's and everything else that people are crying over this guy retiring. No one cares about a center.
Nobody cares.
Mike, pet peeve?
Yeah, I got just little ones because, I didn't know we were having a podcast until this afternoon, so I had to scramble a little bit. But
I love Hisman in the off season.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, I just tried to think. All right, what's pissed me off today? So here's what pissed me off today. This is so obscure. It's sort of sports related, but it's very obscure. I have this desk calendar that I got from Christmas, the Giants desk calendar here. I love these things. You get like a trivia question every day or some statement, right? So I'm through here, to whatever, March 20th now on my thing. And so I realize as I'm going through, they just printed the same calendar since 2021. All the stats are from 2021. Like today it says, is a trivia question today. It says, with a career best 82 stops, who was the leading tackler among the Giants defensive linemen in 2021? Who cares? Should this be from last year?
This is a tackle statistic. I mean, that's the most.
Was it the big cat, Leonard Williams?
It was Leonard Williams. Good job, Scott.
Well done, Scott.
Wow. Scott.
Yeah. So this company, who knows what they're charging for these things? What do these things cost? $15-$20, something like that. They're just reprinting the same calendar year after year after. I don't know what. Like, okay, we do it for 5 years and then we get new stuff for it. I don't know, but I'm definitely getting it next year just to see if it's 2021 stuff again. So that I like at work today, I was looking at that and I was like, how many? Everything's 2021. And then I looked ahead a little bit, looked at the ones I'd thrown away. I'm like, what a scam this is.
Mike, you sure the calendar itself is not from 2021? Like,
No, I'm pretty sure.
Today's the 20th. Like, what are you showing? It's a Sunday. Like, what day is it? Does it show it's a Wednesday?
It says Wednesday.
Is it actually
March
2024?
Yeah, it's Wednesday, March 20th. So
okay.
It is the right. Yeah, it's the right year.
Oh,
That's a good point. That would have been embarrassing.
You never know.
Somebody got me a 2021 calendar out of the 199 bin somewhere. Yeah, so that's lazy calendar makers, I guess is my
that might be the most obscure pet peeve we've had yet.
Yeah, it's I said, I just was I got pissed off about it today, and then I got the email about the podcast coming on, and I'm like, well, there's a pet peeve. I'm already pissed off about the fucking calendar.
We know what to get Mike for Christmas this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'll be loaded up with calendars.
I'm gonna find him in 2021. Cardone, pet peeve?
Yeah, I was going to go two different paths tonight with pet peeves, and we already covered. I was going to talk about the rule changes, but we already had a segment on that, of course. So my backup was, I think it's pretty apropos this week, being that it's March Madness, right? So what bothers me about there's a million things that bother me about, these kinds of events. It's sort of like the Super Bowl where people come out of the woodwork that don't know anything about college basketball. Here comes March Madness, particularly, and I don't know why. I'm like Larry David with this stuff. You know how much, I don't know what it is about the media. Everyone in the media just drives me crazy. So usually it's the sports media with everything that they do. But when it comes to March Madness, it always drives me crazy when like the news anchor, the sports segment comes up, and now the news anchors, who they don't know dick about sports or March Madness, they're now giving me little anecdotes, or they're coming up with little puns about March Madness and talking about brackets and this and that. And it drives me crazy because, you never see it the other way around. The weather guy or the sports guy never sticks his ass into the news segment. He never tries to take over and talk about the news. So why does the news anchor feel like stay in your fucking lane, and let the sports guy do the sports? Don't worry about March Madness, and let the sports guy or gal, let them do the sports stuff. It drives me crazy when these news anchors start talking about all the little anecdotes and the puns and who they have in their bracket and who's their alma mater and who's the upsets and that. Just go back to the news and stay in your lane. Leave sports to the sports, leave weather to the weather, because it never goes the other way around. No one's trying to stick their ass in what's going on in the news. Nobody wants to deal with that. It just drives me crazy this week where, as legitimate sports fans, like the four of us are, no matter what sport it is, we have a good, pulse on this kind of stuff, even though I don't fill out brackets because I have reasons for that. But
my own reasons.
Right, my own personal hardship and trials and tribulations there. But it just drives me nuts when I hear people just come out of the woodwork. All of a sudden, March Madness is sweeping their lives when, where were you watching, college basketball all year? And most of us don't do that throughout the year. It just particularly drives me crazy at the start of this week. I don't know why. This is where I'm just antisocial with this stuff.
By the way,
that's so bad.
I'm wearing the Yankee jersey right now. I did not know this, even as a baseball fan, that today's game that's being played in Seoul, Korea, is actually counts. It counts in the standings.
Yeah.
And yet it's being played at a time zone where the Dodger fans, it's 4 a.m. for them. How are we at the point where a legitimate opening day baseball game is in Seoul, Korea? What happened to the guy coming home back and seeing the Cubs at Wrigley or the Reds playing in the afternoon? It's in Seoul, Korea at 4 a.m.
Dude, I mean, Goodell's 5 years away from playing the opening game in Mars. Let's be honest. I mean, this is happening. It's just going to get worse.
Every NFL team will be overseas for opening week within 5 years.
Yep. I really thought today's game was just an exhibition. I'm like, it's another preseason game in Seoul. No, the shit counts.
Yeah. Yep. Didn't realize it was a regular season game. Isn't spring training still going on for the rest of the league?
for everyone else, not the Padres and the Dodgers.
So when you look in this, So when you look at the standings, you got the cactus and the grapefruit leagues, and you have, you see the Yankees are 8-11 or some shit. So with the Padres and the Dodgers, they're going to have two fucking columns. Are they going to have? Are they going to have a 1-0 or 0-1 on the side? Is there going to be an asterisk? Oh, by the way, their season's already started, but you still have spring training games going on over here. What's going on?
Are they playing a whole series there, or is it one and done?
Yeah, they play tomorrow too.
Well, they got to be playing at least 2 games. It's right.
It's the Soul Series.
Yeah, Soul Series. That's the other thing too. They have to have a patch on their shoulders. The Soul Series. Everything has to have a patch now. Yeah, we're patch happy.
We are patch happy.
Right?
There's too many patches.
Patch happy.
That might be more obscure than my calendar.
Too many patches. Knock it off with the patches.
We did get 2 questions from Brian Peacock.
Did everyone have their pet peeve?
Yeah, Novak led after me.
I'm sorry, I was looking up stats the whole time. And you guys were,
Mine was the Jason Kelsey one.
The Kelsey one, right? Oh, I wanted to comment on Cardone's before we go ahead. You know what the worst is? That just makes my skin crawl about that is when the news bimbo says, my Wildcats. I'm so excited for my Wildcats. Oh, really? Yeah. Who's the center? Who's the starting center?
Right, exactly.
Who do they play in the first round? Get over. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Knock it off.
I've been distracted tonight. I apologize.
So Peacock has wormed his way into the segment of the first episode of season 5, and he's asked us 2 questions. And the first is, are we Camp Tiki or Camp Saquon? And for me, this is a tough one because look,
it's a good question.
Tiki Barber was a better running back for the Giants than Saquon Barkley was. Tiki Barber is not a great human being. I believe Saquon Barkley is a better person. I believe Saquon Barkley wanted to be a Giant. He just couldn't be a Giant. I don't wish him any ill will. And really, when it comes to this era of the Giants, there's nothing to celebrate, but I would rather have seen Saquon Barkley retire as a Giant than the way Tiki left and the way he started his broadcast career trashing Eli and doing some of the things he did. So if I separate them, Tiki Barber was part of teams that were better. He was a better running back, but I am team Saquon in terms of the person.
I could answer this one way, because when I heard Tiki running his mouth or putting his 2 cents in, my initial reaction was shut the fuck up, Tiki. So that obviously my gut instinct would be team Saquon right there. So it's a good question, Peacock. I like this one.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
But that's team Saquon usually, as well.
You know how guys, like when you're rooting, it could be like any game. You know how like sometimes it doesn't matter what the sport is. You find yourself all of a sudden in game, like, I don't know, I'm rooting for blah, 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 for some whatever reason. Like you start that's how I would say my gut instinct was when I heard, Tiki making his comments about Saquon. I was like, stay out of it, Tiki. You're a fraud. So that leaves me, even wearing Eagle green, I have to say, that has nothing to do with the question, really. I'm team Saquon, man.
100% team Saquon on this one. It's, what did Tiki say? Is like, he said something vaguely nice and then said, but you're dead to us now, or something like that.
You're dead.
I'm like, who's us, Tiki?
Right.
You're not. No, you don't get to leave because you didn't like the coach and then immediately try to wedge your way into the media by trashing the Giants starting quarterback. Like, who are you to say something like that? Tiki's been dead to me for 20 years. Yeah, I am. When a fraud like Tiki says something like that and thinks he's joking around and thinks he's buddy with Saquon, and I guess he thought Saquon was going to send him a smiley face back or something, and Saquon just lit his ass up. I loved it. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to give the opposite. I like Tiki Barber. I like him on WFAN. I think he's a great announcer. And I'm not a Giant fan, obviously, so I can't speak from the heart like you guys can about this. But I heard him the day that he was talking about Saquon. I was listening to the show, and I think he did it very tongue-in-cheek. Mm-hmm. And then Ryan Clark went after Tiki, and I think Ryan Clark is the biggest douche in all of media.
Ryan Clark's bad too. Yeah,
he's awful.
Did you see the hype video Ryan Clark did where he said, I want to work less and make more, and like he was getting dressed in his suit and the whole thing, and there was like rap music playing in the background or whatever. I don't know. I like Tiki Barber. I think I don't think Tiki Barber would have played for the Eagles. I don't. But who am I to say? I really don't know. But Saquon did. I mean, he took the money and he went to play for the one hated team. I don't think Tiki Barber would have done that.
Bavaro did it.
Yeah, Bavaro did.
Oh, that's right. He did, didn't he? I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Now Mike's gonna bristle at this, but what I saw earlier this week on the NFL Network was the best of fits from the 2023 season.
Good. So they broke it down into one show. That's
so
awesome.
They broke it down where they had everyone walking in with the best outfits that they had.
The best fits of 2023.
The best fits of 2023.
Good. I look forward to seeing if they can top it 2024.
So Peacock has one more question too. So if we're there at number 6 and JJ McCarthy is available, do the Giants select him? And I'll start with this since I had the preview of having the question first. I think once the Giants have basically gotten Brian Burns on board and they had Drew Lock come in as the backup to replace Tyrod, I think they're saying we don't necessarily have to go quarterback first round. I don't know this for a fact, but I am saying that I think the Giants will go wide receiver in the first round. Maybe they trade back up into the first round to get one of the quarterbacks later, or they draft one in the second round. I don't think they're going quarterback at 6, which is going to make a lot of Giants fans out of their mind because there's so many Giant fans on Twitter that have Jones derangement syndrome. They're going crazy that Jones was at a Zach Bryan concert this week. And it's like Daniel Jones lives in certain Giant fans' heads 24/7. Daniel Jones, to me, he's our quarterback. He's a guy I can get behind, but I'm not thinking about him when I go to bed. I'm not thinking about him when I'm taking a bite at dinner. I don't think about him until I see him on my screen before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some people put everything about the Giants behind Daniel Jones. Every woe we've had since 2016 is Daniel Jones' fault. He wasn't even on the team.
Daniel Jones is the opposite of our buddy Fields, because obviously the Giants, for one, and I would assume other GMs too, think more of this guy than the media and a lot of the fans do. I mean, there are fans, you're right, Scott, who just think it's a foregone conclusion. The Daniel Jones experiment is over and he can't play. He proved it last year, which I don't know how you say he proved it last year. He didn't play 80% of the season, but whatever. But he never does. And that's my problem.
That's a bigger problem.
Jones.
Yeah, that's the biggest
bigger
problem.
problem is that it's not as when he's been healthy, he's played well. He's won games for us. But yeah, what was the question?
Do we go after JJ McCarthy's if he's there?
JJ, yeah. So I'm a Michigan fan, as people know. And I think people got down on JJ in the second half of the year. He got pretty badly hurt at Penn State. They didn't really talk about that very much. He never missed a game, or I think he missed a couple snaps in that game. But so I don't think he can be judged by the way he played quarterback. I mean, he was a good college quarterback for his 2 years where he was a starter at Michigan. I don't know how that translates into the NFL, but I certainly wouldn't spend the number 6 pick on him.
I hope he plays in a pro system with Harbaugh.
Yeah. I hope he proves me wrong. I like the kid a lot. Gutsy as hell, obviously, but I wouldn't take a number 6 on him. If we were more like 15, 16, 17, and he fell that far, I might entertain that. But Novak and I are on the same wavelength, where I got a feeling Minnesota is looking for JJ McCarthy, and they may want to trade up into the top 7 to try to see if they can take a crack at him. And if I'm the Giants, I take that deal in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I was going to say, if the Giants might not take JJ McCarthy at 6, doesn't mean he won't be drafted at 6.
Yeah.
Because I do think Minnesota is gearing up and if I were the Giants, you should take that deal, because they just got another first-round draft pick, Minnesota. So you would take 2 first-round draft picks to get. You would do that in a heartbeat. Why would you not? With all the needs that you have, absolutely.
And probably, as Koss mentioned, probably go back far enough to still get one of the top 3 or 4 receivers.
Yeah.
So, do you guys remember the last time we had the 6th pick? Who did we take?
6th.
Was it Jones or was Jones 7?
The 6th pick, 2019.
Was it Jones?
It was Daniel Jones.
Oh, I thought we took him at 7.
Nope, he was the 6th pick. So maybe that's some of the trauma people are experiencing, because Jones, we grabbed him 6th in the 19 draft. So that's this is little irony there, I suppose. But I don't think. I don't know. I think you just said it, Mike. If would they go to McCarthy specifically? I don't think so. They're not. I don't think we're drafting a quarterback at 6. We're not. Right? Unless they are so in love with somebody, and that sometimes that happens with GMs and staffs. They just fall in love with a guy so much that they go against the the general knowledge of all these experts. But I don't see that happening. This is 1 year. I don't know, guys. No, go ahead, Scott.
The reality of the situation with Daniel Jones is, unless his injury clause kicks in, we can't really cut him this year. I mean, he's got a dead cap hit of a ton of money. So he's going to be on the roster. So you almost want him to play if he's healthy. If not, he becomes almost like a Kyler Murray last year, where he doesn't play at all. And then you're dealing with Drew Lock and a rookie. So a lot of this really depends on Daniel Jones's health. And Mike touched upon this earlier. I mean, to me, the biggest question mark about Daniel Jones isn't whether Daniel Jones can play or not. It's can he stay healthy enough to play?
Yeah.
And that may factor into the decision of whether they pick a quarterback at 6. I also like the idea of trading back, and you could possibly get a quarterback even a couple spots back and pick up an extra first rounder or something like that.
Yeah. It's. I just don't see it unless something very strange happens and one of those top 3 starts to drop. Top 3 quarterbacks. The Giants taking a quarterback at 6. Now, I also think if Chicago, Washington, and New England don't go quarterback, the trade offers coming into the Cardinals and the Chargers, and the Giants are they're going to get flooded with trade offers.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we could see a draft that goes quarterback, receiver.
Yep.
And it's can you ever remember when that would never ever have happened? It might actually be the case
without a tackle in there or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that these quarterbacks are going to go so early too. I think look, I'm not a quarterback guru, but my gut tells me Caleb Williams could be the next Justin Fields in terms of his return. I think the best quarterback in this draft is actually Jalen Daniels.
I would agree with you because when does a North Carolina quarterback ever pan out? I mean,
there's no history there really, right?
None. I mean, Mitch Trubisky was the last one, I think, and then I mean, Sam Howell, he wasn't that great either. I mean, they've not had a history of decent quarterbacks, and everyone's talking about this Drake May as if he's going to be the next great thing. Myers Park kid, but I mean, who knows? Maybe. We all don't know. Let's be honest. No one knows how these guys are going to pan out. It really goes to what system are they going to go to. He's going to go play for the Commandos and, who knows?
I will say, if you look at the top of the draft and the quarterbacks that have been selected, it really is a crapshoot. And it's only about a 30% success rate. I mean, you have for every guy that's been Peyton Manning, you have a Ryan Leaf, you even have guys in there like Baker Mayfield, who is he a win? Is he not a win? I mean, it's sort of up for debate. Kyler Murray, where does he fall? And then that doesn't even take into account Josh Rosen guys, like guys that just completely Manziel. Although I think Manziel went middle of the round, but still.
Well, that Josh Rosen year was Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I mean, that was that year. I mean, and you can debate Lamar Jackson, but really Josh Allen's the only one out of that group and he was the last one taken. So you just don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I do obviously think the Bears are doing the right thing by cutting bait with on Justin Fields, but I kind of agree with you guys on Caleb Williams. I'm not sure. There are some quarterbacks that it just always amazes me, like the Rosens and Mac Joneses, and I don't know how so much gets thrown at those guys. I mean, they don't pass the eye test for me. Now, I've also been wrong 100 times. Like I did not think Peyton Manning was going to be a good pro quarterback. So I'll eat that to the day I die. But there are just some guys out there, I think of like all the stiffs that went through the Eagles and then the Eagles would trade them for high picks later years. And there's just guys that don't pass the eye test. None of these top 3, by the way, are guys like that for me. I think they're all worth taking a flyer on, but Novak mentioned Drake May and the North Carolina history, and Caleb Williams, I don't know, when he faced adversity, he kind of fell apart to me. I kind of think Jaden Daniels might be the best quarterback of that 3 too. I agree.
Although the Bears do seem to be surrounding Caleb Williams with players. That's the only thing. And that is the Panthers pick. The Bears aren't terrible. That's one of the better first pick in the draft teams that I can think of in a long time.
Yep.
So that's the only reason I think he could be successful.
Yeah, he certainly won't have that excuse.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, wasn't even their pick. They got it from the Panthers. So
Those idiots, the Panthers.
Right.
Oh my God. I mean, God.
And the Panthers do not have a first rounder
moves
this year. So
It's unbelievable to me. How do you get rid of that much talent and have nothing?
Nothing.
Got nothing.
Nothing to show for it.
You guys got anything else tonight? So it's been the kickoff to season 5.
All right.
We are back for a 5th season. Looking forward to it. Looking back on season 4, I didn't realize this, but we had almost 40 episodes. When you take into account the weeks, and then you had special episodes in there and the postseason and everything else, it was quite a bit. And we've hit like the 12,000 download mark. So, guys, really, really appreciative for the audience we do have.
Yeah.
I know we're drawing from other fan bases in the Giants. We appreciate that. We hope you guys stick with us. But season 5, we're here to stay. Once you get past season 3, you're basically, you're going on.
Oh, we're like Seinfeld, right in the meat. We're season 4 or 5, right?
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's right when they hit their stride.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if viewership drops this year, we'll go to a 5-guy format and get a Bills fan. Try to pick up more.
I'm working on my daughter to give us a 4-person new logo so we can go to instead of the 3 Angry Giant fans, we can incorporate Novak into the logo, or any of us. Right now it's a fucking helmet.
We don't want to kill the brand, but it is a pretty bad logo. Let's be honest.
Kill the brand. The brand needs to die.
All right, so we'll probably be back. What's next? The draft, or is it the
draft
schedule release? Is it the draft?
Draft is starts April 25th. Schedule usually comes out second week in May now. They keep pushing that back. So draft, then the schedule release.
So we'll do a pre-draft pod. We'll do a post-draft pod. We'll do a schedule release pod, and then basically we'll wait until camp opens up. And then
favorite time of the year, preseason.
Oh God!
All dreams are still alive.
If I look back at the Giants preseason last year, I had so much hope and opportunity.
Yeah, those are the worst years.
Dreams go to die.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Right.
Appreciate it.